What's good, team? Welcome to another general discussion topic today. And today's discussion topic is going to be about beating the meta. And in today's episode of my beating series, I'm going to be going over beating the Burūaizu deck because this deck is arguably the best deck of the format. So I had to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on beating this deck. So like I always tell you guys, without further ado, let's begin. Now, starting off by saying the reason why I wanted to make this video in my beating series format, other than my beating the meta format, is because honestly I feel like my beating the meta, I kind of rush through the cards and don't go in depth. So beating series is pretty much me going as in depth as possible to give you guys the most best explanations to beating matchups you might have a hard time for. So let's get into the video. Why this deck is so powerful. The deck is powerful because it has built-in protection due to that Melody of the Dragon card, which also gives a ton of recursion. The deck is extremely consistent with all of the draw cards the deck has, and the deck makes pretty much overwhelming boards with the Burūaizu alternative dragons, the Burūaizu white dragons, the synchros that special summon Burūaizu monsters. Burūaizu. The deck is really dumb in what it does. So in this video, I'm going to tackle beating the deck's recursion and built-in protection. I'm going to tackle beating the deck's consistency, and we're going to tackle beating the deck's overwhelming board. So let's start off with the beating the deck recursion, which is aka hitting the graveyard. So for hitting the graveyard for the Burūaizu deck, you're going to mainly want to use three main cards, either DD Crow, Necro Valley, or Allied Justice Cycle Reader. Now, looking at OCG deck lists, a lot of players are favoring DD Crow over cards like Necro Valley and Allied Justice Cycle Reader. Reason being, Necro Valley doesn't really mesh well with the majority of meta decks, and Allied Justice Cycle Reader only is really good against Burūaizu in the ABC deck. But with that being said, DD Crow is good for hitting Burūaizu. It's good for hitting the people who like to play Monarch by targeting their trap card that keeps bringing itself back. DD Crow is also good against Melody, that Dragon card that allows the Burūaizu deck to have a ton of protection when they after they bring out a Burūaizu monster or special summon. So DD Crow is overall the most powerful card for that matchup, going hand in hand with cards like Necro Valley, because you guys already know Necro Valley is just good because it's just gonna say can't touch the graveyard. But Allied Justice Cycle is a good card too. So in these situations, I'll run DD Crow if I'm running the Burūaizu mirror match. Mainly reason being because you're gonna want to hit the spell card in the graveyard to make sure you're able to beat over their board, and you're gonna want to stop the recursion plays. I'll run the Necro Valley card in decks like Demise. They can abuse Demise, like for example my friend Brandon Phelps, who came 11th at my regionals. He ran Cleave for Demise that obviously means 3 Necro Valleys, and it just got him there. And I'll use Allied Justice Cycle Reader as a one-up, similar to the fashion that a lot of the OCG players, just to hit the Burūaizu deck and when ABC deck come out in the future. And or if I'm running decks like machine deck like Gadgets, or anyone who's running machine type of decks in general, like when ABCs come out, you can run Allied Justice Cycle Reader because it's searchable via Gear Gigant X. So DD Crow is going to be more universal, going hand in hand with Necro Valley, and Allied Justice Cycle Reader, you're going to want to use it for those certain situations. So whatever's going to be more consistent for you guys, I would definitely recommend adding these cards to a set deck. So now that I got to hitting the graveyard, aka the recursion, out of the way, let's talk about hitting the consistency. Now, there are a lot of cards that hit this deck's consistent. I mean, you have Chaos Trap Hole, which stops the deck summon, because you're going to want to stop the Sage, the Burūaizu card that allows them to search cards out like Effect Veiler. So you're going to want to stop their summons. You're also going to want to stop the Effect Veiler. You're also going to want to Effect Veiler them to stop their effects like Burūaizu Alternative Dragon Effect, Breakthrough Skill, same thing. Bottomless is really good against the matchup as well, and so is Thunder King, because I'm believing my ruling is correct. Thunder King can negate the summon of Alternative Dragon because Alternative is an inherent summon, and of course it can stop the searching of that one card that helps that Burūaizu deck uses, that pitch one card to search up the 2 pretty much Burūaizu monsters from your deck. So Thunder King is a boss for this matchup. Bottomless is good as well because almost everything in the deck is over 1500. But a lot of cards that I'm seeing players not run as much is Mystical Wrath Panel and Lose One Turn. Now, Cleave for Demise should be running Lose One Turn. My friend Brandon ran that card in his deck, and it's just a powerhouse against the Burūaizu deck. Every time they want to bring out Alternative, guess what? He goes to defense mode. Can't get this effect a turn. Same thing for their Synchro monster they want to bring out. And same thing for anything they try to do against you. So it's a card that allows you to stall against the deck, which is very powerful. So if you're running a deck that doesn't really specify as much, like let's say for example the Cleave for Demise or Cosmos, well Cosmos, that's card actually hurt Cosmos, but you know, any deck that doesn't rely on special summoning, lose one turn is gonna be good in. And Mystical Wrath Panel is a card I'm seeing a lot of players sleep on, and I don't understand why they're not running it. Maybe they don't have it, but it's just so good against the Blue Eyes deck due to the fact that Blue Eyes draws a fuck ton of cards. So if you guys don't know what Mystical Wrath Panel do, it pretty much says activate only when a spell card that targets one player is activated. The effect of that spell card is applied to either player instead. So for example, it's mainly only going to be used in situations where your opponent want to place Pot of Desires and they still pay the cost for the desire, so they banish the 10 but you draw the 2. And that, by activating Wrath Panel, could just put you so much ahead of the opponent. I mean, when they use the trade and they send a Blue Eyes to the graveyard, guess what? You draw 2. If you're playing against somebody who's using Darks and you're playing a Dark deck and they activate Lure of Darkness, guess what? You Wrath Panel. You draw 2 and you get the banish one because that's part of the effect, but that being said, you get the effect. So I feel like Mystical Wrath Panel is good for hurting the Blue Eyes deck consistency, along cards like lose one turn. And of course, you want to stop the deck's effects through cards like Chaos Straphold, Effect Regular, Breakthrough Skill, Bottoms, and Thunder King, because Thunder King just win games on his own. So now that we get the consistency out of the way, all we have to talk about is beating down the field presence, because as you already know, Blue Eyes can make a fuck ton of field presence going turn 1, mid game, and or late game with all their recursion cards. So hey, looking at the OCG, they mainly use 2 cards for this, which is Book of Eclipse and Swords of Consistent Light. For you guys that don't know what Swords of Consistent Light does, you pretty much activate it. It's like Swords of Villain Light, stays on the field for 2 turns, and it does not target. It changes all your opponent's monsters in the field to face down defense mode, and they can't change their battle positions. So it's really good. Only thing about it is the continuous spell, so if they MST it, they can flip their cards right back up. But a lot of players are also using Book of Eclipse. I think I've seen more players using Book of Eclipse than Swords due to the fact that Book of Eclipse is chainable, so if you're on the defense and they want to spam the field out, you can Book of Eclipse them so their medley of the dragon card in the graveyard can protect them from destruction. So Book of Eclipse and Swords of Consistent Light is good because the Blue Eyes deck has built-in protection, which you want to stop when going against decks that just have stuff like that. And plus, these cards are universal, you know, against stupid decks that like to do things like, let's say for example, the Cosmo deck, who obviously can't be targeted. You can use these cards against those decks because these cards don't target, and hell, Book of Eclipse is chainable. So, and even in Masked Heroes, if you guys play Heroes, you can use Book of Eclipse on the defense, and if your opponent does draw from it, guess what? You get to banish the card they drew. So, I mean, these cards both have their pros and cons, but you can't argue with results. So, Book of Eclipse, Swords of Consistent Light is amazing for beating down the field presence of the Blue Eyes deck. Other cards, of course, I have the Mirror Force squad, Rippling Mirror Force, Storming Mirror Force, and Quaking Mirror Force. Quaking's going to help if they swarm the field to try to attack for game. Let's say for example, they swarm the field with 5 cards for whatever reason. Switch all the motherfuckers down face down, and guess what? They're screwed for the next few turns until they tribute some of them off. Storming is going to help bounce back cards to the hand, which is really okay if they bring out a few synchros, which they rarely do. I just see them going alternative and Blue Eyes and beating the opponent down. But Rippling is where you're gonna want to be at. You just let them run over your field and have the Rippling set, so if they try to go on the offensive, it's Rippling their board and they will be screwed. So with all that being said, guys, this is my beating the Blue Eyes deck. And I want to say, the Blue Eyes deck, while there is, just like every deck, while there is tons of ways to beat the damn deck, just because you can beat the deck with side deck cards doesn't mean that it's going to be a guaranteed victory for you. Just like every deck in the game, you can side for it, but that doesn't mean you always enjoy your side cards. So the deck is super consistent, and if you don't draw your side cards, you're going to lose. So if they do beat you, just chuck it up as a loss, because hey, it's the best deck in the game for a reason, in my personal opinion. So as I always tell you guys, if you're new here to the channel, I would love for you to subscribe for more competitive Yu-Gi-Oh content. I upload 3 times a week. Mondays I do my general discussions like you guys are seeing here. Wednesdays I do my top 10s, and on Fridays I do my Explain series where I explain decks and archetypes in detail. I do these videos because I truly believe in helping you guys become better players, and I also do these videos because I truly believe in you guys helping me become a better player. This was Chris from Team Innovation, and I am signing out. Peace, guys, and stay innovative. Also, like I've always been telling you guys, add me on Twitter at Innovation Yugioh. Alright guys, I'm out. Peace. Without wasting time, let's begin. Archetype history. The archetype was first introduced in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX by, I think her last name was